I've got a hot take, and that is that most SEO best practices simply do not work for 8-figure D2C brands. Okay, I'm going to cover 4 specific best practices that are commonplace in the SEO industry, but are really ineffective when applied to the wrong brand. Okay, we're going to cover blog content, we're going to cover backlink building, technical SEO, and a bit of reputation management, which is becoming exceptionally prevalent nowadays with Reddit and Quora and Trustpilot getting like way more visibility than they absolutely should for branded searches. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, first off, blog content. Publishing blog content for the sake of doing it or the sake of raising brand awareness, so to speak, is not a strategy that directly contributes to more revenue. Okay, you know your ROAS down to the 100th of a decimal, yet you write blog content in the hopes that someone will read your blog and all of a sudden make a purchase. Okay, you're very deliberate about every other channel. I do not understand why you would continue to just write blog content because it might bring a customer, okay? Everything needs to be measured, right? So why should blog content be any different, all right? Now, I will level with you that blog content is probably the very first thing that comes to the average person's mind or average brand's mind when they think of SEO, okay? It's always been that way. I don't believe that should be the case anymore, okay? Things are changing, search results are changing, strategies are changing. Blog content is not what it used to be, okay? Now, there's some nuance to this, right? If you're a paid, like a media company, news company, whatever, writing articles is absolutely still your best form for SEO in terms of driving your business growth, right? Because you rely on quite literally eyeballs on your site, right? However, as an e-commerce brand, eyeballs on your site doesn't pay bills, okay? You need actual conversions, right? So instead of writing blog content just for the sake of driving visitors, what you should in fact be doing is ranking for bottom of funnel searches, like for your product pages, your collection/category pages. If you rank for those people who search those keywords and then land on your page have an intent to purchase something, not just look at your site, okay? So if you focus, instead of just writing blog content, like actually focus on ranking those product pages and collection pages higher, and also creating new ones to target other bottom funnel keywords that you have not yet targeted so that you can make even more money, okay? Now, blog content, like I said, traditionally, like that's just part of SEO, right? And we write some blogs, but I would say like we have significantly reduced the volume of new blog content we're putting out, okay? We signed 5 brands for the agency in the month of March, so that ended 2 days ago. I believe 2 of the 5 brands within the next 6 months, we're actually going to publish new blog content for them, okay? The other 3 already have some blog content, so we are going to look at updating it, or we are going to update some of it. However, I'm far more interested in the collection pages and product pages because I know that it's actually going to make them money as opposed to just make the SEMrush or Ahrefs traffic graph go up, okay? Traffic graphs are cool. They don't pay bills, okay? Revenue, which I can directly tie to a higher position for a collection page or product page, is what will pay your bills, okay? So think about your SEO strategy and think about, is this next blog you're going to write actually going to make you any money, or is it just going to fall on deaf ears, okay? Probably going to fall on deaf ears, to be honest with you, right? Couple more notes. Like, we work with actually 2 brands who have published probably like 3 or 4 blogs a week for the last like 3 years, okay? When we first signed on with them, I told them just to stop because I looked at when I audited the site, 89% of the blogs weren't getting any traffic at all, okay? Which meant it was just kind of bloated and low quality. So what in fact we did was we trimmed them. We just got rid of them. And now the overall kind of content quality, content grade of the site has improved because we've cut off a couple hundred blogs that simply weren't good or doing anything, right? So you should be updating blog content. You should be updating blog content if you have it because there is definitely a leverage point there with internal linking. But I would urge you to reconsider when you go to publish anything new, okay? A higher priority for you, which would lead to more revenue, is optimizing your collection pages. You know, whether that's optimizing them for the first time or re-optimizing them again if you haven't done it in a while. Same with product pages, internal linking. All those kinds of things are going to move the needle in terms of revenue much, much faster and much, much further than writing a new blog, okay? So that's that. I also believe that agencies that are writing blog content just because a brand wants them to, or because they think a brand wants them to, I think that's exceptionally unethical and or stupid. You're one or the other. You either know it's bad and you're doing it anyway because you get paid for it, or you don't know it's bad and you're still getting paid for it. Okay. If a brand asks you to write blog posts and you just do it as an agency or a freelancer, you're just an intern. You're not an agency, because you've now immediately delegitimized yourself and you no longer are perceived as the expert. They're simply just paying you for a set of deliverables that they have established. Okay. If you're an agency or freelancer, like, you need to be the expert, right? I understand you will have discussions about how to approach strategy, as you should. Okay. It's not your way or the highway, but it's definitely also not their way or the highway as a brand. Okay. So I would urge you to reconsider blog content in its entirety. Okay. That's hot take number one. All right. Number two, trying to attract backlinks organically is more of a hope or prayer than it is a strategy. Okay. You're an 8-figure brand. A lot of people know your name. Probably millions of people absolutely definitely know your name. I guarantee you that over 90-something% of journalists don't know your name. Okay. It's not an insult, just a fact. Okay. So if you are writing content in the hope of organically attracting backlinks from a journalist who you've never met and or has never heard of your name, never even heard your brand name, that's a scenario that just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. You're a big brand. You're not the biggest brand. Okay. Forbes can do that. Nat Geo can do that. Nike can even do that. You cannot. You're just simply not big enough. Okay. Now, I know that technically paying for backlinks goes against Google spam guidelines. I'm telling you personally, I've paid for backlinks for 5 years without any issues. Okay. The most recent video on my channel is actually about me spending $250,000 on backlinks and everything I learned from it. Okay. How I do it, what works, what doesn't work, what's working right now, what is a little bit outdated, all that kind of stuff. So if you don't believe me about paying for backlinks, like, just go watch the video and it will break down every single part of the process, why it works and why things that don't work. Okay. Now, like I said, even if you don't want to pay for backlinks, right? Maybe for you, it just doesn't sit right with you. Fine. I think you should reevaluate that thought, but fine. If you're not going to do that, you should still go actively pursue backlinks in other channels. Okay. Reaching out to journalists who have covered topics in your niche, pitching them a unique angle you've got, commenting on current events, or some insights you may have as your brand, or signing up for a platform like Quoted, SourceBottle, what used to be like Help a Reporter Out, Haro, things like that, where journalists are actively seeking information from subject matter experts every single day and pitching on behalf of your brand when a query when a pitch request comes across your desk that is actually relevant to you, you should be pitching that. Okay. Those links are not against the guidelines in any case. PR is not, right? I think you should pay for links because that's the most effective and scalable way to do it, and it takes less time. But again, if it's not for everyone, fine. You have to go the PR route. Okay. But in either case, you have to be actively seeking out backlinks because they will not magically find you. Okay. So trying to attract backlinks organically, naturally, whatever, is not a strategy. It is a prayer, and it is not a good one. Okay. Third, long, drawn-out technical SEO audits are probably not as necessary as you may think. Okay. Now, before I get into why, I want to explain there's definitely some nuance here. Brands with enormous product catalogs, yes, technical SEO is exceptionally important for you. Okay. We're talking like in the thousands. Okay. If you are like a couple hundred or even less than 1,000 products, technical SEO is probably not going to have as big of an impact as you may currently believe it might. Okay. There are probably there's definitely like over 100 probably technical SEO line items that could be put into an audit. Probably less than 5 of them have like any major impact for you in the next few months. Okay. In a perfect world, yeah, you would take care of all 150 of those things. However, if you're doing it in-house or whether you're paying an agency, both in-house and agencies are limited by budget and also by time. So in terms of like making money, you will delay making money if you proceed with that theoretical list of 150 factors, right? If you take care of the first 5 and then you move on to content and links, you can start making money a lot sooner, and you can start making way more of it. And then later on, if you have the time, and I'm talking like months later on, you can work your way through the rest of that list if you feel so inclined. I can tell you, I don't do it. Like we don't. Our technical SEO audits are probably some of the leanest technical SEO audits I've ever seen out of it. They're definitely the leanest I've ever seen out of an agency. I'm sure there's someone out there that does even leaner than I do. And my belief is simply what I told you, is that technical SEO is not going to be a massive needle mover for most brands, okay? We're looking at your pages getting crawled and indexed properly. We're looking at schema markup, because that's a really easy way to get. We're looking at broken links, which also contributes to crawling and indexing. We're not looking at page speed. I used to get that question a ton when that Core Battles update rolled out like 2 or 3 years ago. I hardly get the question anymore. And honestly, we've made one page speed improvement in the last probably 2.5 years. And that's because the site was loading at like 8 or 9 seconds. Like it was abysmally slow, right? Now, if your site loads below 3 seconds, guaranteed like that's not having a big impact on your SEO rankings, and making it load in under 1 second is not automatically just going to put you the number 1 spot, okay? Content and links absolutely will get you the number 1 spot. Faster page speed, depending on where you're at currently, probably not going to be the thing, okay? So our SEO audits are lean because I know that content and links move the needle faster and further than technical SEO does. And as an agency, that is my goal. That is my actually single goal to do for you as a client, is to make you more money and make it faster compared to just doing things because they've been deemed best practices. Okay, so technical SEO can be a waste of time for a lot of brands. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting an audit done and you're paying a couple $100, a couple $1,000 for it, I would urge you to reconsider and ask yourself if you honestly need it, or if you're looking for a strategy that's actually going to make you money. Okay, so that's one. And the last one here, big D2C brands don't necessarily require SEO for discovery as much as they require it for trust. You're an 8-figure brand. You probably have an enormous organic social presence. You definitely have a big paid social presence. Millions of people know your name. That's a great thing. I would also bet on your way to 8 figures, you have made some enemies, whether it's competitors, spiteful customers, spiteful agencies in the past, what have you, okay? If you're an 8-figure brand, there probably exists a bad Reddit thread, a bad Quora thread, a low Trustpilot score somewhere out there, okay? That is obviously hurting your reputation, okay? And if you're not doing any active reputation management, it's just going to keep hurting you, okay? So first, like, pretty easy fix is if you don't have a dedicated reviews page, you should create one. So that way when people search, your brand name reviews, or is the brand name legit, your page has a high chance of ranking for that query, of at least above the Reddit or Quora or Trustpilot thread, okay? That would be in your best interest because that reduces the chance that they're going to find a negative Reddit thread and then never go buy from you again, okay? So that's kind of the reputation management side of things. Now, again, a lot of people know your name at 8 figures. However, the function of SEO is to rank for non-branded keywords, okay? Whether you do SEO or don't do SEO, you're going to rank for your own brand name regardless, okay? You don't need to pay an agency to do that, right? Which is like why every agency should be filtering branded and non-branded performance, because like that's how you actually measure growth or not growth. Now, reputation management is hard, right? Suppressing Reddit threads, getting them taken down, same with Quora, same with Trustpilot, very difficult and honestly impossible in some cases, like Trustpilot, for example. Now, rather than just focusing all of your efforts on trying to fix a reputation that already exists, SEO can serve as a function of trust. 2 ways. First, if you rank for more non-branded keywords, people who have never heard your name are going to search for something they want to buy. You rank number 1. They're going to enter your site, and ideally they're going to make a purchase. And if that's the case, if they never heard your name, they're never going to hear or see the reputation that you're trying to manage. They're never going to see the Reddit stuff, so it doesn't matter, right? If they don't see it, you can just add more customers in from non-branded keywords that have never heard of you and therefore don't have a preconceived notion about what you do. And I'm not saying you're a good or bad brand. I don't know that, right? However, if you can drive more non-branded people in, the reputation management problem becomes a lot fucking smaller, okay? So that is kind of function number 1 of that as well, right? The other thing too is you spend a lot of money on paid social, right? And I'm sure paid search, but like you run a lot of retargeting campaigns, guaranteed, okay? I wanted to buy a couch the other week. I searched online for couches. I think it looked like the top like 2 or 3 results, and then I closed my laptop to go do something else. Okay. The next time I opened my laptop for the next like 3 or 4 weeks, all I saw everywhere was couch ads. Okay. Now, I ended up buying the couch from Wayfair, I think. And I know for a fact Wayfair was one of the companies that sent me ads. However, I also know like 9 or 10 other companies also hit me with retargeting ads. So, but when I was like actually ready to make my buying decision, I went back to Google and I searched for a specific type of color and style of couch that I wanted, and Wayfair had it at a good price, and that's why I made the decision to buy it there, right? Now, this is especially important with higher ticket items, like a couch. Like the couch is like a couple, like I don't know, $2,000 or something like that. So like, I'm not going to see a paid social ad and all of a sudden just go buy off of an ad. Like I'm not buying a $2,000 couch because I saw a good ad on Instagram. Like that's not happening. I'm gonna go do my research, look for a brand on Google that I like, read the reviews, all that kind of stuff, and then I'm gonna buy it, right? That is how most consumers function, like operate when it comes to high ticket buys, right? So I would tell you, like I bought it from Wayfair, and I remember like looking at Wayfair the first time, and but I don't remember seeing any Wayfair ads. I probably saw them. I know I must have seen them because they're definitely running retargeting. But the thing is, I couldn't tell you the other 9 brands that were doing it, or 9 or 10 brands. So when I went to go buy a couch, like I wasn't set on buying from Wayfair, but the other 9 or 10 brands weren't even on the first like top. They weren't even on page 1, much less the top 3 spots of Google. So when I was ready to buy, I never even got the chance. They wasted all that like retargeting spend on nothing because I wasn't even going to buy from them. I wasn't going to buy from anyone that wasn't in the top 3 spots of Google when I was ready to make that decision. So if you're spending money on paid social to, at the top of the funnel to grow awareness, to get more net new customers, and you're spending money on retargeting to hopefully convert those customers later on, you should also be spending money on SEO. Because when those people when those people are ready to buy, they're going to search for, most likely going to search for a category type or product type thing. They are not going to search your brand name. And so if you don't rank highly for those non-branded product and category type queries, they're probably not going to buy from you. And again, you'll have wasted all that money on retargeting spend. So like I said, I saw 10 brands probably on ads that like those 3 weeks. I don't remember any of them beyond Wayfair, and that's only because I know they're running retargeting ads definitively. So consumers, like, you're not memorable. Or brands, you're not as memorable as you may think. So people are not just going to remember your name no matter how many fucking ads you run, right? Sure, a few consumers out of every 100 will remember you, right? But most people won't. So if you're spending a lot of money on retargeting and you're not spending money on SEO, you're wasting money, and customers are slipping out of the funnel at the very last moment when they're ready to buy and just going with someone who's actually on the top spot of Google. Okay? Now, this is especially applicable to higher ticket products. I would say like anything north of 100. The average consumer definitely does a bit more research and is a bit more hesitant and a bit more deliberate about purchasing decisions above like that $100 range, even like above $80. So it becomes especially important at that price point. If you're selling like, shitty like $25 t-shirts, like, yeah, SEO is not going to be that big of a channel for you. It's simply not going to be. But if you're selling a product with a lot of consideration, long LTV, maybe subscription based, like, you need to exist on search, because that is where people are going to make their decisions and do their research. And if you're not there, they won't trust you, and they definitely won't fucking buy from you. All right. See you guys tomorrow.